What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video on the channel today. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the Houston Texans and what they're going to do with the second overall pick in the upcoming draft. The draft is on April 27th. It's just a few weeks away. For those of you guys who don't know, I will be live streaming the first round of the draft. So make sure to subscribe so you don't miss that and you don't miss my future uploads. Covering the draft, I've been making a lot of draft content. I'm going to continue that up until the draft and a little bit after the draft. So subscribe if you don't want to miss that. But similarly to what I did with the Seahawks video, talking about what they could do with pick number 5, I had planned to do a video on most of the teams in the top 10 on what they could do with their pick, but with this report coming out about the Texans, I did want to cover the Texans first of all. So it's been reported that the Texans might not take a quarterback second overall, which is pretty crazy because I think the majority of people, myself included, have Bryce Young and Cj Stroud going first and second overall in whichever order. You know, maybe Cj to the Panthers, Bryce to the Texans, Bryce to the Panthers, Cj to the Texans. Either way, the general consensus is that Bryce and Cj are going first and second overall. However, Adam Schefter, who is a reputable source, he's not one of those guys out there that's just going to make shit up for clicks and catch you with a whatever. Adam Schefter came out this week and said, "quote He isn't convinced yet that the Texans will take a quarterback." And being that we are just a few weeks away from the draft, to me that is very noteworthy news. I feel like there are certain teams that are going to take a quarterback. It's been very obvious, I think, to me that the Colts are going to try to do whatever they can to take a quarterback. And with the Texans having the ability to take whoever they want minus one player, it's kind of a big report that they might not take a quarterback. So I do have a little bit of a conspiracy theory. So we are going to put our tinfoil hats on today, and we are going to point up to the moon and say that the moon landing was fake, and we are going to talk about my conspiracy theory. So I think that the timing of this is a little interesting because recently, I don't know if you guys pay attention to betting and the sports books and everything like that. Vegas Vegas always kind of has a little. They kind of have a little step up of what this regular folk have. Like us, the consumers of the NFL, we are always a step behind of what Vegas is. And Vegas has recently changed their odds to make Bryce Young the favorite for first overall. In previous weeks, it was Cj Stroud sitting at the odds on favorite, but now CJ sitting at plus money. Bryce, I think I saw him be like minus 200, minus 250. Okay, so Vegas clearly thinks that Bryce Young is going first overall. But what does that change? So my theory is that the Texans are a lot higher on Bryce Young than they are on CJ Stroud, and they were very content to sit back and take him second overall. Now, because they thought CJ was going to go to the Panthers first overall. But now that Bryce is going to go to the Panthers first overall, reportedly, they are not as comfortable taking CJ Stroud second overall. So they're reevaluating what to do with that pick. So who could they take if not a quarterback? Well, I think the most likely answer would be Will Anderson, who many people consider to be the best, if not one of the best, defensive players in this draft. Let's also remember the Texans just hired DeMeco Ryans as their head coach, who was the defensive coordinator of the 49ers and was also a defensive player for the Texans for a very long time. Okay, so he's a defensive-minded guy. So taking defense would not be the worst thing in the world. You would get your pick at the best defensive player in the draft. I think Will Anderson makes the most sense there. Um, in my first few mock drafts that I did have the Texans taking Jalen Carter, which talent-wise still makes a lot of sense, and production-wise obviously still works. But with the character issues, people are thinking that Jalen Carter is going to slide in the draft. So I think that taking him number 2 overall is a bit risky. Um, but would I be like shocked if the Texans didn't know? Because again, they know more. They've interviewed him. They've talked to him. They've interviewed. I'm sure every team in the top 10 has talked to Kirby Smart, the Georgia staff. They've talked to his teammates, everything like that. So if they like what they've heard, then they could go Jalen Carter at number 2. But my money, if they don't take a quarterback at number 2, would be Will Anderson. I just think that works really well. High character guy, great locker room guy, can play the edge. I think the Texans' best edge rusher last year was like Jerry Hughes. So they obviously have a big need at that position. It's a hole they really haven't filled since J.J. Watt left. Um, so yeah, I would think Will Anderson there. And then that kind of shakes up the top 5 part of the draft. So if Carolina goes Bryce Young, then Will Anderson goes number 2 to Houston, which, by the way, I don't know. I'd have to fact check this. I don't know if a school has ever produced the top 2 picks in the draft, like that of that draft, but that would be that would be pretty cool to see Alabama do. Anyway, um, Bryce number 1, Will Anderson number 2. All right, number 3, now it gets interesting. Now Carolina, they have so much leverage to trade that trade. They have so much leverage because teams that need a quarterback now have the opportunity to take one of the top 2 guys in Cj Stroud. So Arizona is going to get it would be a crime if they don't trade that 3rd overall pick. They're going to trade up with the team, maybe like the Raiders, I could see Tennessee, I could see whichever one of these guys trading up to number 3 to take Cj Stroud. Okay, now we got number 4 with Indianapolis. Well, Indianapolis is like, well, shit. All right, now we have one of the guys that we like on our board. It's reported, I think, that they really like Anthony Richardson, so they're going to go with Anthony Richardson at number 4. So the big winners of this trade are the big winners of this development, excuse me, that the Texans might not take a quarterback would be Arizona at 3 and Indianapolis at 4. Arizona would get so much trade leverage for that number 3 overall pick. They would get a lot of draft capital and everything like that. And then Indianapolis would still get to take, Anthony Richardson. A lot of reports are saying that this is a top 3 heavy quarterback class, Bryce, CJ, and AR. If you take AR at 4, or if the Texans don't take a quarterback at 2, you have the opportunity to take at least AR at 4. So that would work out very well for Indianapolis. And then this kind of sucks for Seattle, unfortunately. It's not the worst thing in the world, but I would prefer, one of Will Anderson or AR to fall to Seattle at 5. But it sounds like in this scenario, it probably wouldn't do that. So the Seahawks would probably either trade back or just take Tyree Wilson at 5 there, or if they really want to be ballsy, Jalen Carter. But again, I don't know. I don't know if they want to take that chance at 5, but that would probably mean Tyree Wilson at number 5 for Seattle. So let me know what you guys think about this. I want to hear from my Texans fans down below on if you guys should take, Bryce or CJ, or if you should take Will Anderson. What do you guys think should go on? Let me know what you guys think the Texans should do at number 2 overall and how this shakes up the top part of the draft. Again, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 100, hoping to hit it by the draft. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out.